welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic.
Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I'm playing Legacy, but I'm doing something a little special. This is episode 2 of what Ecobaronen and I have decided to make a monthly series. You don't need to have seen any of the other episodes, they all stand alone. This is the Bosh versus Baron Battle for the Basement. The premise is to explore decks in the Legacy metagame that don't have a lot of eyes on them or are just crazy brews, whatever. All of the decks I'm playing came from my Patreon community who have spent the last month submitting, tuning, and then voting on the decks. If you want to be part of that process, the links are in any video description. The only rule is the decks can't be a top 15 deck on MTG Goldfish. We have to be off of the front page of Goldfish, and after that, they can be whatever we want. And let's walk through the decks I'm playing today. The first one is 4-color Zenith. It says 5-color in the deck description, but I don't see any red cards. 4-color Zenith. This is a deck that Strifo put up a 5-0 with a little while back. Strifo of Strifopile fame, the Dak Faden Punishing Fire 4-color control deck. This deck it's a Green Sun Zenith deck. It's a natural order deck. There's a bunch of routes to Atraxa, which we like. That card's very good. But the exciting newer cards, newish cards, they're not new anymore. They were new at the time. Kishless Skimmer. 2/2 flying for a green and a blue. Whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card. This triggers once per turn. Cards could leave my graveyard with something like Molt Tender. Tap, mill a card, and tap, exile a card from your graveyard, add 1 mana of any color. Keen-Eyed Curator. I could just target my own graveyard. 1 mana, draw a card, not bad. I could target myself with Endurance. I could escape Uro. There's no Mystic Sanctuary in the deck. We didn't get that cute. But there's a bunch of ways to trigger this little fella. And this fella also is easy to Zenith for, and it's easy to sack to natural order. And this is pretty much just a classic control deck, but instead of playing something obvious like Up the Beanstalk, we have Kishless Skimmer and some weird little mana dorks to turn it on. The second deck I'm playing today is Eumidian Hatchery Loampox with Hogak, Arisen Necropolis. Eumidian Hatchery is the new hotness from Edge of Eternities. I do have a full league recorded with Eumidian Hatchery Loampox. That is coming out. This is going to come out before that, but this is not the first time I've played this card. Tap, pay 1 life, add black, put a hatchling counter on this land. When this land dies, make a 1/1 flying black insect for each hatchling counter on it. It's just an untapped black source. That's great. You can float a mana to bank a future bug if you don't have anything to cast for your black, and eventually it'll die somehow. You can target it with your own wasteland. You could cast Smallpox and end up with a bunch of bugs when it's over. Those bugs can convoke and I guess they can't delve. They can convoke Hogak. Orcish Bowmaster, just a great legacy card, and also happens to be 2 black creatures to convoke Hogak. Grist makes green bugs that can convoke Hogak and also mills Hogak over. We love Loampox, we love Eumidian Hatchery, and I'm excited to play with Hogak. I spend 0 energy trying to metagame Andreas for this series. That's just doesn't make any sense. I don't care what he's doing. I'm just going to play the decks I'm going to play. But I think there is a good chance that he also brings a deck like this one. It's weird, it's new, it's hot, it's exciting. This fits all of the bills for what this showcase is about. I would not be surprised if we have to play against this deck. I hope it ends up being the mirror if he does bring it. We don't know what each other brought beforehand. We go in completely blind. And I saved the most deranged deck for last. This is Minotaur Stompy. We see the basic building blocks of Red Prison in here. We got 4 Blood Moons, a bunch of Trinispheres, Fable the Mirror Breaker, Spirit Guides, Chrome Moxes, Soul Lands. That is a tier 1 deck. At least half of the cards, but then the other half become insane. Instead of Broadside Bombardiers and the One Ring and cards that are good, we have Didgeridoo, 1 mana artifact from Homelands. It's on the reserve list, by the way. Get your copies today before they become unattainable. 1 mana, and then you spend 3 to put a Minotaur permanent from your hand onto the battlefield. From there, we have Neheb, Dreadhorde Champion, Sethron, Hurloon General, Morog, Fury of Akum, and Boros, Battle Shaper. This is how we actually win the game. It's not unfathomable that if the game grinds out, especially if Blood Moon or Trinisphere are involved, that we cast Neheb, we cast Sethron. We can do stuff fair and square, but hopefully Urza Saga finds a didgeridoo early enough that we can start didgeridooing it. The members of the BoshNRoll community have been obsessed with didgeridoo ever since I went 5-0, 10-0 in a Legacy League many years ago with a blue-white build of this, a blue-white control standstill didgeridoo deck. That remains to this day one of my most popular videos. If you're new here, go check that out. That was one of the crowning achievements of my life. And those are the decks I'm playing today. I'm going to play them in that order. It doesn't really matter, but Zenith, Gak, then Minotaurs are my plan. Let's go play these matches and see what Andreas brought to the party. I'm on the play in round 1, which is lucky because we agreed to alternate play-draw, which means I'm also on the play for round 3. That's going to be the Minotaur deck, which needs all the help it can get. Honestly, if I was trying to finagle that at all, this is the deck I'd prefer to be on the draw with, but I'm not that serious. None of this is that serious. Okay, I'm going to go Tropical Island and get Dryad Arbor. Recently, somebody called me out in my comments for always being mean to Dryad Arbor when it ends up in my hand and never complimenting it when I get to Zenith for it. So I'll do that now. Dryad Arbor, thank you, buddy. I'm glad you're in my opening hand. I love you. Okay, Silver Bluff Bridge. This could be the affinity deck with the Pinnacle thing. That's the 3/3 with Warp for 1, that whenever you cast an artifact, you make a 1/1. This might be very difficult very soon. I'm going to brainstorm. All right, Bayou. There's only Leovold and Atraxa in the deck for Bayou. I'm going to put that away, and I will also get rid of this Tundra, and then I'll fetch that Tundra. Blue-green, Kishla Skimmer. Keen-Eyed Curator can start drawing cards next turn if I want to do that. I am worried about my opponent making 7 1/1 flying artifact drones this turn. Quarry Steelcutter. All right. That was a relatively tame second turn, all things considered. Okay, I can go Skimmer plus Curator here and just gear up for a big turn 4. I think that's probably best. I'm going to cast Curator first, because that one's more important. If my opponent does have a force or removal in hand, I don't want him to know that Keen-Eyed Curator is going to be Divination, 1 mana Divination every turn for the rest of the game. All right, Tropical Island, green-blue. I have invested in the future. I hope I have a future. Suddenly a pause on this one. All right, cool. My sequencing mattered a lot there. Force Pitching Kappa Cannoneer. I would rather have Keen-Eyed Curator in play that draws 1 per turn than 2 Kishla Skimmers in play that draws 0 per turn. So, but once he knows I'm drawing 2 cards a turn, he has to act if he has action. And Kappa Cannoneer being gone, that's a big threat out of the game. And at this point, he didn't know what I was playing, so he might have kept a hand on the strength of Force Blue card, knowing that we're in this bullshit battle. And who knows, I could try to do anything. Ooh. Thoughtcast no second spell with Quarry Steelcutter in play. Oh, wow. We love a Teferi. All right, I'm going to curate my own Keen Eyes here. Get to draw a card. Busted. I could Brainstorm first, then Teferi. I think I just want a Teferi, though. The Swords to Plowshares might be important on this coming turn. Plus Teferi. Bash for 5. Okay. This Teferi just sticking, that Thoughtcast missing. He's going to have to do something very, very big very soon. All right, a second Cutter. I didn't want to bounce the first one because he was struggling to cast 2 spells last turn, and I didn't want to give him one. Like, put the Quarry Steel back in hand. And with Swords to Plowshares, it will take a lot to actually kill Teferi here. Urza Saga, one of the better cards that there is. And Thought Monitor. Okay, so this is a draw a Chirlian and trigger the Cutters. Thought Monitor, 5 cards in hand. Mishra's Bauble. I can't afford to Swords to Plowshares until we're in combat, because I don't want him to know where to put his energy. Like, I could have plowed one of the monks now to save 1. He gains 1 less life this turn. But if he commits to a double attack on Teferi, I can protect Teferi. But if he thinks it's dealing 6, then maybe he behaves differently than if he knows it's only dealing 3. All right, looking at the top of his own deck. All right, these are both attacking Teferi. I'll get Savannah here. I've decided we're not playing any basic lands this game, even though Icefang Quaddle is a card that I play. Plow one of these monks, which doesn't feel good, but it does feel good to get to keep Teferi for a turn. Right, Teferi takes a beat. Opponent draws a card. I draw a card. Then I can draw another card. Dryad Arbor is not an important combat object for me here. I'll exile land from my graveyard and draw my card. There's Plains. Now it's brainstorm time. I've been sitting on this thing for a while. Ooh, Endurance is quite good. Suddenly Icefang Quaddle matters, but whatever. All right, put back Island, Plains, plus Teferi. Is this Keen-Eyed Curator going to be any good? There's instant artifact sorcery in the graveyard. Yeah, I can just make this 7/7. I'm going to chill. Saga ticks up. I do feel this starting to turn, though. That last turn was really good. Thought Monitor, keeping the cards flowing here. Should not be hard to trigger that other Quarry Steelcutter here. There's the Pinnacle Emissary. All right, we might see a trillion creatures come into play this turn. I cannot interact with that. Bauble triggers all these prowess things and Pinnacle Emissary. Ooh, okay, we're convoking. This has got to be a Kappa. What's my plan here? I think I've just been fully outvalued. I guess Keen-Eyed Curator, make it a 7/7 trample and try to clap a bunch of times. Kappa, another drone. Do we have another Kappa? That'd be gnarly. Okay, equipping the Quarry Steelcutter to this unblockable 6/6. Smart. They're attacking Teferi with the unblockable and me with the Thought Monitor. I'm going to cast Endurance and at least eat the Thought Monitor. I think I just target nobody with this ability, though. I want my opponent's graveyard to be there so I can eat it with Curator. Block. Bobbling me. Okay, I could Surveil here, or I could get a jump on making Curator bigger. What am I surveilling for? In Natural Order puts a giant lifelink creature into play. That might be enough. Alright, I guess I am surveilling. Hedge Maze. Swords to Plowshares. I can remove that Kappa. I can pay the ward. Alright, that's on top. Alright, opponent draws a card. I draw a card. If opponent has Force here, it sucks real bad. He's drawn a lot of cards. Who is actually winning this race? In the Pinnacle Emissaries in exile, it's been warped. 1, 2, 3, 4. This can't block. I could attack with Curator and Kishless Skimmer and just see what happens. Okay, I'm going to start here. He can force me to exile 3 things, spend a bunch of mana. If he just blocks with a bunch of monks, I have to commit to growing the Curator. Okay. We force the issue. Exile Thought Monitor. That gets me 2 types for 1 card. That's pretty nice. Exile that. And exile Thoughtcast and Force of Will both do it. Alright, I'll take the Force of Will. Alright, that's a 7/7 now. Big crunch of damage there. Alright, Swords to Plowshares is no longer going to target Kappa Cannoneer. They can make a really big construct and equip it with Quarry Steelcutter. I'm going to need Swords to Plowshares somewhere on this chain. Okay, blue, green, white. So if I curate my own graveyard, I guess I could have drawn a card. Ah, shit. This is actually just really bad. I should have exiled my own Brainstorm. It's the same thing, except I have 1 more mana to play with. Alright, I am going to draw the card, though. That was a mistake. There's a lot going on here. Molt Tender. That is a blocker. It is an engine. I think having Coatl and Plow up is worth more, though. Alright, passing the turn. Saga gets to do stuff. The token triggers Kappa. That's a 10/10. Yeah, I was just laser focused on my opponent's graveyard, doing what I needed to there, but this I could literally have Molt Tender in play for the exact same, like, totally free. This mana that I tapped would have been the Molt Tender. Sloppy, sloppy. And they got Lava Spur Boots with that. Bauble. Kappa is 9. Pithing Needle. Alright. This triggers the cutters. All right, did decide to move it to a monk. I guess Kappa doesn't need trample, it's unblockable. All right, yep, Pithing Needle's in there. That could name Keen-Eyed Curator, I guess. It did indeed. Right, equipping Quarry Steel Cutter to the construct. I think 1 life matters less than the surprise factor. All right, bobbling me. Saw the Swords to Plowshares at random. All right, unlucky. All right, what are your attacks? Everything is the answer. Okay. Swords to Plowshares, this construct. If you have Force, I lose. And I might lose anyway. All right, last 2 cards in hand were Force blue card, and I'm dead. All right, so a small missequence there, not using my cards to their maximum. Fortunately, it did not affect the outcome of that game at all, but it was messy. Pernicious Deed's great against my opponent. Collector Roof, I like that one. Hydroblast does counter the Pinnacle Emissary for 1 mana. That's a pretty big deal. It doesn't do much else, but answering that thing seems pretty important. Terrasty Nasty could blow up a bunch of their lands, I guess. I'm not bringing Terrastin on here. Prismatic Ending could collapse their early affinity count. That doesn't sound very promising. All right, I think Endurance is mediocre. Teferi actually seems mediocre too. Obviously, it's nice when your spells resolve. I guess it's an Urza Saga deck, and I don't have a lot of good answers to that. Ice Fang Coatl's pretty mid. I don't want to fetch basics in this matchup. And I guess I'm a natural order deck, so I should leave my forces in. All right, I'm going down Coatls and Endurances up these 4 cards from my sideboard. I'll keep this. I have Force blue card and Swords to Plowshares. That could fend off early nonsense. Like if he just plays a turn 1 Pinnacle Emissary, I can plow it after its first creature, or after its first trigger. Which means I can't afford to Zenith for Arbor here. But I'm kind of holding out hope that Zenith can get Collector Roof. Seed of the Synod, Lava Spur Boots, sure. Are there 1 or 2 Surveil lands in this deck? There's just the 1. And it's the wrong one. Alright, I'm just going to draw for my turn. Hydroblast, cool. It's getting better. Alright, now I am... Nope. Same thing I just said. I was just going to say I'm going to Zenith for the fella, but I'm not, because I want Collector Roof. It's over there playing Artifact lands. I want to punish that shit. Volcanic Island. That's a red card. Counter target spell if it's red. Okay, I think here I should fetch the Surveil land, because hitting land number 3 here matters a lot, even if I'm missing white. Nice, all right. Drop to the top. Trippity troppity, right on toppity. He knows exactly what this is because he's played Legacy before in his life. Collector Oof. That's just Stone Rain for now. Soporific Springs. Have to use one of your answers to Collector Oof as mana. That's nice. This is not nice. I'm going to force pitching Brainstorm. I don't want him to get anything going, and Quarry Steel Cutter is a card that functions under Collector Roof just fine. Plow. Brainstorm, please fix me. Okay, good. We did it. Put back Dryad Arbor and Plow. And then if I want Plow, I can play Coatl and draw it. If I don't want Plow, I can just shuffle this away and draw some fresh ones. Right, we've got a Dismember in the chat. I think that just has to work. I don't have like a Spell Pierce I could cantrip into. I didn't bring in Veil of Summer just for Dismember. Yeah, okay, you got me. Mox Opal, the hand suddenly functioning. Opal, Bauble, Thought Monitor. All right. And just like that, we're behind. A Bauble sees the Swords to Plowshares on top of my deck, which is not going to be there in a minute. I don't think that's the game I have to play right now. I'll fetch Savannah in the end step and play Coatl. They were in there. Force of Will. Zenith would be pretty good. All right. Kishless Skimmer. I think this has to be a blue card for Force right now. I'm on defense. Opponent's got 4 cards in hand. The deck is full of a lot of air, and I just have to hope there's not 2 bangers in there. Saga's always a banger. This is a Kappa that I have to force, though my next land can Plow Kappa, but Lava Spur Boots is literally in play. All right. Hate this for me, but force it. And the Lava Spur Boots on it gives it Ward 5, which I'm not going to be able to pay for a very long time. Last card in hand is Lotus Petal. All right, opponent's all in over there, but I am in the trash. I need like, I mean, Pernicious Deed barely even helps, and I can't cast it. All right, this game's not winnable. GG's. This is a very bad matchup for what I'm doing. If they have so many ways to go wide and so many ways to go tall, and my list is just not ready to deal with any of that. Where's my deck? There it is. Even just like Atraxing out on turn 3 or 4, if they have 7 drones in play, even like 4 or 5, that Atrax is not getting in. And then Kappa will overcome it eventually. Yeah, I would want Wrath of the Skies in this deck, like some sort of significant change to combat that appropriately. The BoshNRoll channel is brought to you by Tales of Adventure. TOAMagic.com has almost 100,000 unique cards in stock. They offer free track shipping on every order, plus next day or 2-day options when you have an event coming up fast. They offer on-site pickup at major Magic events throughout the US, so you're never scrambling before your tournament. Stop by their booth to buy, sell, or trade at upcoming regional championships, Magic Con, Spotlight Series, and more. I love their selection of individually scanned high-end cards that show you exactly what you're buying. And the best part is saving 5% on every order with promo code BOSH. From Ancestral Recall to Zombie Master, get what you need quickly and in one place at TOAMagic.com. Eternal lives here. I'm on the draw with the Hogak deck. I'm going to keep. I've got Thoughtseize and Wasteland. That's enough to see some more cards. Birds of Paradise. Are you playing the deck I just played? Okay, I'm going to fetch. I think I want Basic Swamp here, just in case. What's going on over there? Oh. Oh, this is Nadu Elves? Alright, well, I don't like this. I will take the Nomads. Yeah, this is like the 3rd or 4th best build of Nadu. I guess it is technically off meta. It's got a lot of mana over there. Yeah, keeping a hand on the strength of Wasteland into a deck with that many mana dorks and Gaia's Cradle is tough. Normally, this is exactly where Smallpox would thrive. Okay. I think what I need to do is start Saga Gaming and just hope that my opponent never does anything. Mox Diamond. I'll discard another Saga. Keep that Wasteland in the holster. Probably just going to Endurance to clock me in the end step. Yep. Alright, good news is we're in a phenomenal matchup for the card Smallpox. Bad news is that they're over the hump and I don't have a Smallpox. There's the Heath. This deck plays Natural Order and Court of Calling. It might not have Natural Order. It definitely has Court of Calling, though. It didn't do anything. That might be Court of Calling. I'm just going to hope it's nothing instead. I've successfully drawn both Hogaks. Good job, me. Let's take out that Gaia's Cradle. Which is always risky because it's a legendary card. I might have just unlocked another one from their hand, but it's also the best thing they have in play, so, you know, what are you going to do? I didn't Court of Calling with the mana while they had it. Let's hope that hand is just 3 lands, or like Nomads and Core and 2 lands. Some garbage. I'm taking a hit for 4. I get to make a 2/2. I can make my construct not quite as big as Endurance because of Noble Hierarch. Uh-oh. There's mana in the pool. Zenith for 3. I'm going to float black just in case this is a trick and they're going to get Collector Roof. Nadu, yep, that one makes sense. A Saga, make a 2/2. Nadu has actual flying. Mox Diamond, okay. Now I am big enough to tangle with the Endurance, but that's not my problem anymore. Fetching in response, playing around Pithing Needle, but Pithing Needle's just going to name Nomads and Core anyway. Do I even have a Pithing Needle? Nope, I do not. That is in the sideboard. I guess it's Lava Spur Boots. They don't care about their graveyard, and clapping back here is what I got to do. Okay, Saga, Diamond, discard Forest, equip, fight, suddenly racing. If his hand actually is just nothing, I'm in good shape here. If his hand is anything, I'm in terrible shape. Oh, Nomads and Core. Obviously didn't have that or would have cast it last turn, just right off the tippity top. Game over. All right, Fatal Push is great. Pithing Needle probably would have won me that game. Toxic Deluge, awesome. I think those are the things I want. Grist, way too slow for this shit. Nile Spellbomb doesn't matter. Witherbloom Command's great. Smallpox is great. Bowmaster's great. Ball Therapy will probably find some spots. Maybe. I like all my techie lands. Even the Ghost Quarter. They got stuff worth blowing up, like Gaia's Cradle. Alright, I think the therapies might go. Or I could leave in 1 therapy, cut 1 Hogak. I might just be shook because I drew both Hogaks that game instead of any removal spell, but I'll take it. Yeah, on the play, which is right where Pox wants to be. Ugh. This one is so close to being insane. I think I have to keep... Any land is good. I play 26 of those. Just under half my deck is lands right now, and any land gets Witherbloom Command plus Malevolent Rumble online. The one Hogak glued to my hand, obviously. All right, Thoughtseize you. Nadu, Oof, Force of Vigor, Once Upon a Time. And it's Nadu. I had a bunch of artifact hate over there. That's why I led on Swamp and not discarded the Swamp to Mox Diamond. Savannah. And you were worried. Okay. Now Force of Vigor is actually kind of good. Because I do actually need this Ghost Quarter to make green to continue my game plan here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna... What do I do here? Do I Thoughtseize Collector Roof? Do I just Rumble? I could just Mox Diamond Rumble. And good chance I hit a land drop there. All right. I'll take my chances on that. Rumble. If this hits a black source, I can still Thoughtseize this turn. Nice. All right. Bowmaster, Verdant Catacombs, Offspur Boots. I need the Verdant Catacombs here. And then fetch. I'll get a Bayou now that I know the matchup. And we'll Thoughtseize again. All right. It's the same cards plus a Gaia's Cradle. I think it's Collector Roof that I want gone. The Force of Vigor will eventually do something, but yeah, I'll take the Oof. That's the one that's doing anything here. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to mill past that Bowmaster just to get my lands online, because that Bowmaster would have cast Hogak. Once Upon a Time. It's finally time to go Once Upon. I'd love to see a Mana Dork here turn on Witherbloom Command. Instead, we see Nadu. But that Cradle doesn't tap for mana. Currently. Nice. Alright. Did you want that blue source? It's gone. Alright, casting Once Upon a Time from hand. Show me Noble Hierarch. Misty Rainforest. Alright, the game continues. I could just put Wasteland in my hand here, but I could also do that next turn. Alright, passing. There's the Misty. Guy's Cradle still over there, still doesn't do anything. Underground Mortuary. I don't really want my opponent to have Nadu in play. But Witherbloom Command is theoretically very good against their deck. Alright, I'll mill 3 and I'll drain my opponent, unfortunately. What if I mill them? I have what I want. I don't have a loam. Alright, yeah, I'll mill myself. Occasionally, it's correct to mill your opponent if they're a deck that doesn't use their graveyard. Is your one unknown Veil of Summer? It's not. Great. And I'll get Wasteland back. Play Wasteland. And I'm just going to pass into my opponent's turn. If he wants to Surveil here, I want to make that cost. If he wants to fetch Dryad Arbor, I want to make that cost. End step. Took the Surveil. Dumped Court of Calling. Am I more worried about blue or white? Yeah, I'll take the Hedge Mace. Alright, let's see that Guy's Cradle. Stop making real land drops. Shit. Alright, deck. Underground Mortuary. Show me not Verdant Catacombs. Alright, we're having the Pox problem here, which is that sometimes you don't do anything. Bro, chill! Alright, well, here's Nadu. It would be a great turn to draw Smallpox. I hate my deck. I hate it. There is a second Underground Mortuary in here. I'll go for it. No, there's not. I don't know what's going on right now. Okay, pass. The hand is Force of Vigor, Gaia's Cradle, one unknown. He's definitely going to cast Nomad's Encore here, based on how this league has gone. Noble Hierarch is in Gaia's Cradle. Force of Vigor, one unknown over there. Smallpox is a lot worse now. Deck, please. A card that does anything. Not really. But I guess I will take out the Gaia's Cradle. Though Court of Calling still gets what you need when a 1-drop wins the game. Windswept Teeth. Now I want him to hit land drops. That's not my squeeze anymore. Just draw a land every turn for the rest of the game. That's what I want. Deck, please. Anything at all. That's not it. God, this sucks. Great. Yep. A lot of fun was had. That's the Pox life. Sometimes you just don't do anything. On to the final round.
This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks. And groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there.
I'm on the play for the final round, and I have a turn 1 Blood Moon. I'll keep. It's my turn to play a tier 1 deck masquerading as a bottom 15 deck. But unlike decks that are good, instead of this being the One Ring, it's just Sethron. Alright, did this win the game, or are they just going to play like basic island and win easily somehow? If he's on like the mono white warp deck, that deck plays 8 basic planes. Alright, just going straight to cleanup. Oh, great. Reanimator? Alright, we got to set some rules here in the future. I'll play the Volcanic Fissure and pass. Alright, just going to swamp Grizzlebrand here. Or Lotus Petal Dark Ritual Grizzlebrand. Lotus Petal. Sweet. Shallow Grave. We're dead. Alright, I'm F6ing and hoping that he whiffs. I'm not actually upset about the decks that he's chosen here. Like, it's, the goal of this is not to feature bullshit. It's to feature decks that are not necessarily the top of the metagame, and Tin Fin's combo, or whatever he's doing here, is definitely meets that bill. Nadu Elves is pretty low on the actual metagame. However, you know, it is tough when my patrons spend a month carefully curating silly decks for me to play, and we just get comboed out multiple times in a row. Alright, the Grizzlebrand failed, but that shouldn't matter because he gets to discard 10 cards here, and presumably there's a Black Source and a Reanimate in the 7 he gets to keep. Because he could have drawn another 6 here and just didn't. I need to draw, I think, exactly Trinisphere, though Didgeridoo also is gas. Archon of Cruelty, Borborgos attracts into the graveyard. Yo! Fuck you! Respectfully. Alright. Well, I hope he didn't keep enough lands to keep playing, just thinking that the next turn it would be over. Yo! Alright, what happens here? Basically nothing. This doesn't have haste. Alright, I'll play... Alright, I have to spend 3 mana on the Dig anyway. Well, this is the best possible rollout I could have asked for. However, oh my god, he only kept 1 land. He only kept 1 land, team! Oh god, I also drew Soul Guide Lantern. Alright. Bang! I would like Archon of Cruelty out of this graveyard. Yeah, he could have drawn 7 more cards or just kept one of these 85 lands he discarded. So he got greedy multiple times here. I'm going to call this Karmic Justice, though, of bringing Turbo Reanimator to a foam sword fight. Right, Animate Dead, my Sethron. Yep, that works. This only gets my opponent's graveyards. My opponent gets a 3-4 and a 2-2, or a 2-3. Oh god, he can even activate this? This is fucking swamp. Alright. My creature's bigger, but his get menace. I'm gonna lose to my own idiot here. Oh, I also have an idiot. Alright, Didgeridoo, you can do at instant speed. Hopefully we get a nice combat blowout here. He knows I have Marag and Simian Spirit Guide. I've basically drawn the best card I could draw the last 3 turns in a row. It's hard to complain at this point. No, I'm gonna do it anyway. It is my right as a Magic player to complain about anything. Reanimating Atraxa. Well, obviously, exile that. And this means his creatures won't have menace this turn. Okay. Marag. I think I'd rather get Sethron in. That one gets value off of Marag. Ancient Tomb. Alright, so I can... There's something about Marag that I have to remember how this shit works. So, whenever a land you control enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. I think this only matters if I play multiple lands per turn. There's like a stupid thing that Marag does. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is, where if you make too many land drops in the wrong main phase, you get all the combats, but the creatures don't untap every time. I think I have to go to second main. Right, because the additional combat phase would happen first. Okay, so I have to put Marag in, attack. My Minotaurs don't have Menace, though. They could get it. Should I wait and do it all next turn? I think that's what I'm supposed to do. As boring as that is, I think I'm supposed to end step Morag, go to my turn, give everyone Menace, give double combat, and then win. All right, I'm going to pass with no play here. Our opponent has to put a creature in the graveyard and then get the creature back. And, like, I don't care about Thoughtseize here. Cabal Therapy. Well, it's Morag time. All right. He's going to name Simian Spirit Guide, which I don't actually care about. Can't name the card that matters, which is the land that gives me extra combat. Oh, he's targeting himself. Yeah, I guess that makes even more sense. Thanks, Magic Online. Always forget to check that. All right, he named Archon of Cruelty. His hand is a bunch of reanimates. All right, I think you'll be dead before that matters. At least I hope. All right, my turn. Okay, activate Sethron. Give everyone Menace and Bigger. They don't have enough power to kill Morag on the first combat, which is what matters here. They might just be dead anyway. Yeah, double block the biggest thing. This is just lethal. I don't even need the second combat. All right, nice. Woof. All right, Fairy Macabre's coming in. Chalice of the Void, awkward because I'm trying to resolve Didgeridoo, but also my opponent's deck is full of 1 and 2 mana spells. Disruptor Flute can name Grizzlebrand or reanimate Animate Dead if I have a read. Okay, I got some of my rotten luck back from the last round. I don't think I can board out the Didgeridoos. Like, Urza Saga is still part of the plan. Blood Moon's a lot better on the play. And even then, knowing my opponent's a mono black deck with Lotus Petal makes it kind of stinky. Boros Battleshaper can defeat this deck by itself. At the beginning of each combat, up to 1 target creature attacks or blocks if able, and up to 1 can't attack or block. This can completely freeze out Shallow Grave. You just freeze whatever creature they reanimate. That doesn't matter versus Archon of Cruelty, or it matters if the Battleshaper comes out after the Archon, but the Archon can just eat the Battleshaper the first time. I really don't like the anti-synergy of Didgeridoo and Chalice of the Void, but I don't like the anti-synergy of having a bunch of uncastable creatures in my deck either. Alright, I think I'm going to cut the Morags. Also, my opponent can just Thoughtseize reanimate me and put Sethron or Boros Battleshaper into play. I hate that. Fable is just like a real card. Okay, so I guess if I'm cutting top-end Minotaurs, I can afford to shave on Didgeridoo. Yeah, I just have to become whatever this is instead of what I want to be doing because my opponent's a turn 1 combo deck. Alright, well, I'm holding Fairy Macabre, and I can Disruptor Flute or set up... I can Flute and Saga on turn 1. Cool. I've got the Didgeridoo. Without knowing my list, he doesn't know if he has to play around Leyline of the Void. He has to assume I have something in my deck that would affect his graveyard, but like if his hand is just a full send with Unmask and no art or enchantment removal or no backup plan, then it's very bad. We both kept 7. He was in the tank for a while about it. Unmask targeting me. Yep, that's how that works. Pitch Spoils of the Vault. Interesting. Is that part of the Reanimator combo, or is that a juke? All right, I mean, if he wins right now, he wins, but he might do something clever like take the Disruptor Flute or take the Didgeridoo and just play around the Macabre for a while. Could take Chrome Mox here, I guess, if he's got a slower hand. Took the Didgeridoo. All right, he's playing Control Reanimator. My greatest fear. There could be a Witherbloom Apprentice pivot here. All right, just got the free Entomb on Atraxa. You love to see it. Okay, Urza Saga comes in. Chrome Mox. I'm going to pitch the Sundering Eruption, and I don't have to proactively name a discard spell, but if he plays a Witherbloom Apprentice, I can then name Chain of Smog with Disruptor Flute, and that's not really a plan anymore. Okay, how do I want to do this? If I don't cast Flute now, my mana's bad for the rest of the game, so I'm going to do it now. He's got a fetch and response. Undercity Sewer. Alright, so I'm naming Show and Tell. Fetching a blue source is pretty suspicious here. Dumped Reanimate. Alright, I'm just going to name Show and Tell. This might not even be in his deck, but it's something I lose to if it is in there. The battle bus. Oh no. All right, another saga. I can tutor Soul Guide Lantern next turn, which means he has to get through double Macabre, or like Macabre. He has to beat Macabre with a double reanimate here. But he does have Shallow Grave in his deck, so if, at 3 mana, he can go reanimate Macabre in response Shallow Grave. All right, none of that shit happened. All right, I would like another construct. I would like... I'm not ready for Didgeridoo, and I can do that next turn. I just don't have the mana for it right now. I'll get Soul Guide Lantern and just make sure this is not an option. And I'll play City of Traders and attack for 5. All right, if I get Witherbloomed right now, good job. Next turn, I can tutor the Dig, put in Battle Shaper, and then I can beat most reanimate bullets. I even beat Archon from this spot. I can lose here to Dark Ritual Show and Tell. So I have Battle Shaper in hand, so if he Show and Tells, I probably just beat whatever he puts in immediately. Spoils of the Vault. All right, it's game time. I've seen a lot of people die instantly when they cast this card. He named Show and Tell and went to -13. We got the GG. Yeah, had the soul read on that one. Cool. All right, we're going to debrief with Andreas and talk about these matches. The BoshNRoll channel is proudly partnered with the Resleevables. In this YouTube series, hosts Patrick Sullivan and Patrick Chapin go set by set through Magic's past, leveraging their decades of experience as Pro Tour players and game designers to analyze the good, the bad, and the ugly of Magic's history. Each episode is a deep dive into the facts, mechanics, cycles, trivia, decks of the time, and historical context of the set. The hosts dig into notable cards of the era and their lasting impact today. Each set gets an award show where the hosts pick their favorite cards for categories such as Best, Worst, and Weirdest. And finally, give a letter grade for the set's overall success. Whether you want a history lesson or a nostalgia hit, The Resleevables has it at youtube.com/theresleevables.
All right, guys, we're back with the debrief. We just had 3 grueling matches of 6 very, very promising decks locking horns, no pun intended. And here we are in the aftermath, Brian. Good games, first of all.
Yeah, for sure. Some of them were good. I think the first and third matches were good, and the middle one was a garbage fire. But, you know, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, we can't really control if we have like super competitive draws or how the decks line up, because we do value playing, you know, in a closed decklist environment, hopefully showcasing a little bit of an advantage, you know, that I didn't know is you would be playing Didgeridoo and stuff like that. That's a very, very important information to keep concealed.
I'm surprised.
We started things off. Yeah, I was surprised to say the least. We started things off with me playing an Is It Artifact deck submitted by one of my members. I believe it was a DN Solver deck originally. I changed it a little bit, tried to make it a little more consistent, cut a little bit of top end, added some lands, minor stuff essentially. And you were on the Stryfo deck, right?
Yeah, it's from a deck dump from Stryfo a while back. All of my decks came directly from my Patreon community. They shout out to my Discord mod King of the Depths, who set up a whole channel in our Discord where people submit and then tune and then vote on decks, and then there's another round of tuning after the votes are in. So I had no hand in this, but I put my full trust in my community not to obliterate me, and they did come up with 3 pretty cool decks. And
yeah, certainly.
Yeah, no regrets there. But yeah, the Stryfo deck, I remember when he first put up his 5-0 with that, everyone was talking about it. Kishla Skimmer. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, saw the famous HJ Godic playing Kishla Skimmer in Vintage in real life at the Steel City Spectacular. So people are still playing with that card. And unfortunately, your deck, I would never want to play that matchup. I have nothing for it. There's no Wrath of the Skies. I guess there's 1 Pernicious Deed in my sideboard, which by the time you're in Kappa Cannoneer, it doesn't matter.
Collector Roof was an important one for me I need to draw one of my 2 dismembers to kill it, to be fair. That card was really strong, and then I got lucky and exactly unlocked enough to play the first Thought Monitor, and I was kind of off to the races. But you were very dangerously close to just stranding me with a ton of cards there. So Green Sun Zenith toolbox, very, very powerful.
Yeah, that new affinity deck with the Pinnacle Emissary, is that what it's called? Pinnacle Emissary?
Yeah.
That card, even if I am a Zenith deck with Collector Oof, that happens on turn 3. Turn 2, if I'm lucky enough to have my Molt Tender and a fetch land to turn on the Molt Tender.
That's right, little brother.
But your turn 1 could just be, warp that, play 4 artifacts, and then Collector Roof does not race for 1/1 flyers. So
Certainly.
And my removal's not set up to deal with 4 1/1 flyers either. So there's the nut draw and then the slow grind. And that is an affinity deck is very cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool as well. Do you play Natural Order in your deck, by the way? Because I was super scared of that. A lot of my plan was around, especially the turn where I'm able to dump a hasty Kappa Cannoneer to clear the Teferi, to just have that Force of Will online instead of losing to Natural Order. Yeah, I was pretty scared about that. What kind of targets are you working with?
It's just Atraxa. There's a bunch of little stuff. There's like Endurance and Leovold and Collector Roof in the Zenith package, but it's just Atraxa at the top.
Okay, yeah, that deck, I think there was a little bit of situations where about the Raccoon, the 3/3, where you had the chance to grow it, but it seems like then you'd exile 2 lands, and just, did you feel like you played that optimally? It seems like you lost a little bit of a mana situation there.
I was just using it as personal Howling Mine for the first couple of turns, and then when you started to unlock, because it looked like you were stumbling early, like you were not quite doing what you wanted. There were 2 turns where you had Quarry Steel Cutter in play and didn't make a monk, and it just felt like you were behind, and I was trying to grind ahead.
I actually don't know how I won that game. You must have drawn very many bad cards in a row.
Maybe, but if I was aware that that thing could become 7/7, and I definitely misplayed on the last turn where I was just focused on your graveyard. I knew your graveyard could give me Delirium with the Raccoon. But so can mine, and mine draws a card. So
that was my point exactly. You feel like you could have done it a little bit more efficiently, getting to the same spot but just cheaper.
Yeah, as soon as I did it, I was like in the middle of combat. I think I like actively had the ability targeting your 3rd card, and I was like, shit, I could have drawn a card here for free. And
exactly. That kind of deal.
That did not end up changing the match, but I did draw a 1-drop, the Molt Tender, that I could have played with that 1 mana that I used to draw the Molt Tender, and it could have been an extra blocker. Like if my Plow resolved that turn, if your last 2 cards in hand weren't Force Blue card, then the Molt Tender being a chump would have mattered. So that was a pretty big bleed, and maybe I'm just supposed to make it 7/7 immediately and just hit you with it.
Yeah, I was scared of that, randomly at the time, but who knows what's best. That card is quite... Yeah, I don't know. I had the cutters, I played some tap lands, and it was terrible, but then, I started to get going, and I drew very well off the first draw 2. It's like really snowballed, and hasty Kappa Cannoneers, pretty tough to deal with. And then game 2 with the clutch Dismember on the Oof, and I was able to play the first draw 2 and kind of snowball from there. So yeah, I think my deck is pretty decent, but also if you're facing off against hate, maybe not that great, because you're only as great as your ability to, spit out stuff.
Right, and this Stryfo deck came out when Tarkir Dragonstorm was new. That was 3 sets ago at this point, and the metagame's a little different. Like, certainly... Like I'm aware of this artifact affinity deck you just played, and maybe 2 Pernicious Deeds or a Wrath of the Skies, just something that lets me keep up somehow. If you blitz me even a little bit, would probably make sense.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. Then we moved on. I played the Nadu Cradle deck. Pretty stock, but unpopular deck at the moment, so it qualified for our, outside of top 15. I think that could easily just go on a tear and be a top 10 deck in Legacy. I don't think I would be unreasonable. And you were playing an interesting deck that I actually never got to see let's say, what was that, the end of the rainbow, whether that was a Dark Depths deck, whether that was a Pox deck or whatever. Maybe talk to me a little bit about that deck.
Yeah, I will say when I thought seized you at the start of that match, I was like, come on, Nadu Elves? Like, I guess it's technically like the 16th deck in the meta or whatever, but that one was definitely...
I can see that.
I won't say the word fraud, but I thought it.
Yeah, we can refine the rules a little bit. I see.
I mean, it's fine. Like, that deck is unpopular. It did top 4 Eternal Weekend last year, and we have basically the same format now that we did last year. So if anyone's looking for a crazy combo deck, and the Nadu Elves deck crushes Nadu midrange, but then it's weak to Nadu Breakfast, and Nadu midrange is good against Nadu Breakfast. There's kind of a rock, paper, Nadu scissors.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's a thing that exists. But yeah, I was playing Loampox with the Eumidian Hatchery, and
the land and smallpox and stuff. Okay.
yeah, the Bitter Blossom land, and
yeah,
I kept my hand on the draw, like not knowing what you were up against. I kept like a Thoughtseize Wasteland Double Ursa Saga start, and then you had like 2 Mana Dorks and Gaia's Cradle in play before I could even Wasteland you once, and my whole plan was garbage. But that's a deck that could fold on the spot to Smallpox. Like, if I get a Mana Dork, a land, and a card out of your hand on turn 2, that's exactly the matchup we're looking for. But once you break out, it's impossible to catch up. And game 2 is especially frustrating, where I kept a really good hand and then drew nothing but nothing for the entire game.
Yes.
Even Malevolent Rumble and Witherbloom Command both missed on Loam. They missed on Hogak. Oh, I actually drew all my Hogaks both games. That didn't help.
Oh, okay.
It was not great.
Hogak you can only cast if you've already gotten off a hatchling, or how does it work in that deck?
There's Bowmasters, which immediately turn on Hogak.
I did see you milling over that one. Okay, that's a cool one.
Yeah, the game 2, the Thoughtseize, knowing that you had Force of Vigor and Collector Roof, and my hand relied on Mox Diamond to have green mana, it made that Malevolent Rumble really tough, because I need the Black Source to clear your answer, but I also need the Bowmaster to turn on the Hogak that's in my hand, and it just never materialized. I drew like all of the regular mana producing lands, not even a Wasteland, a Saga, a Ghost Quarter, nothing. It was just like forests and swamps for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that gave me, enough time to just find something eventually, right? Because as you alluded to, once I get my mana on board, I have so many live draws, right? That's kind of like a blue deck with a ton of cantrips. Now it just turns on my Zeniths and my Court of Callings, and then that's not a place you want to be against that deck.
Right, and you ripped Nomad's Encore on that last turn.
I did that a few times in that match, I feel like, where it's like, I'm probably doing fine, but now nothing matters and it just gets easy, right? So that card is a combo certainly potent. But now we move on to the highlight. I would say the main dish was the last one.
Yep.
Because when you go turn 1 Blood Moon, that should be very bad for me, but my hand is Petal, Land, and I was planning on go to cleanup anyway with my deck. So I was like, sure, you got it. So I get to attack with Gristlebrand, draw 14, and now I have to discard a ton of cards. Why would I need all these lands, Brian? I will just discard all of my lands. Like, why would I need those, right? I will keep a swamp, though. That's smart against Blood Moon. But every other land, let me get rid of those. And you sure made me pay.
Yeah, that was one of those moments that is probably going to make the highlight reel at the end of the year, where I basically said every turn, I need to draw Trinisphere to have a chance. And then, okay, I hope he didn't keep any lands. And then, okay, then you animated my Minotaur, and I'm like, now I need something that can beat that in combat. And I drew my own copy of the same Minotaur, because you had black too. You could have given your squad Menace with the Minotaur and just beat me twice. And
oh no. Oh no.
Well, my 6/6, that would have beaten the 6/6 that you knew I had.
That's why the 6/6 didn't work. Got it. Okay,
right.
Got it.
Yeah, the 6/6 didn't work, but I drew my own copy of the same guy that makes 2
bodies,
blockers. So like, it was just one after another of whatever the perfect card was for me to draw. I even found that one of Soul Guide Lantern along the chain there. Like, that was magical Christmas land coming in to pay me back for the bullshit of round 2.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm very happy I didn't keep a land there, because then this debrief might have been a little bit different. So game 2 becomes a little bit tricky, because I got this deck from a member who really loves to play this deck. So I just got a guide on how to fully juke, essentially. So I have the Show and Tell plan, and I have the Chain of Smock with Willowbloom Apprentice in my sideboard. So my deck becomes like super wonky there. And it seems like you're really on top of it. So maybe talk a bit about that Disruptor Flute, because that impressed me a lot. Like you just played that card and looked like that was the most easiest thing in the world, naming Show and Tell.
Yeah, so I had the Fairy Macabre, and you Thoughtseize me. and you did not take Fairy Macabre. You took Didgeridoo, which makes me think you want to play a longer game, and or that Reanimator is not that important to you. And so, like, that's one piece of the puzzle. And then I see Spoils of the Vault, and the only person playing that is Witherbloom combo. So I identified you had Witherbloom combo in your deck, and then I was holding the flute. When untapping into your 2 mana, I was like, if he plays Apprentice at any point, I can just flute and name Chain of Smog, and it buys me a million turns. So, like, you're kind of locked out of that. And then, because my Urza Saga was about to start eating my mana every turn, I didn't want to have to hold up flute anymore, so I just sent it into your fetch land, and when you fetched a blue source, I was like, oh, it's show and tell. And then just checked all the boxes.
Perfect. So this is exactly what I was hoping for you to say. So I love all of the intel. You're certainly right. The information from Thoughtseize, what I take and what I leave you with, that gives you a lot of info. Love that breakdown. But when I fetched there, I didn't actually think I had a surveil land in the deck. But when I see it, I'm like, oh, wow, let's go get a surveil land, because might as well, right? The problem is that color kind of tips off my plan, because I had natural drawn my 1 underground sea in my hand, so I didn't need this color. But I wanted the filtering. So this is perfect, just to see that your opponent can realize 90% of what's going on, but if you help them get over the hump and reach 100, you can look like a jerk here, and you sure made me look like a jerk here. You played super well here. So sure, you got a little help with some perfect draw steps, but you capitalized on my mistakes and you made me pay. That's what Magic should be about, in my opinion. Like, that's the best feeling.
Yeah, I say all the time in my videos that your opponents are always telling you what they have. Like, they're always telling you what's in their deck. They're always telling you what's in their hand. They're always telling you what their plan is in a matchup, if you know how to listen. And when I'm out there at Eternal Weekend and just 8-0 with 3 rounds left to go, because it's an 11-round tournament, and I've been doing that the whole time, and that's what I try to impart to my audience when they listen. Like, my content, this would be called over-explained content on other channels, where usually goes quick, and it's just like, so you can see some Magic being played. But then once in a while, someone releases an 1.5-hour video where they explain every stupid thing, and I do that every day. And I want people to realize that when your Reanimator opponent Thoughtseizes you and doesn't take Fairy Macabre, that tells an entire story, and they need to be listening.
Yeah, great point. I do love the details myself, and today I was the prime example of being read like an open book. So that was really cool, Brian. We should keep up this monthly endeavor, and I'll try and do a little bit better on the definitions for next time. I feel like I brought 3 decks that were flying very close to the sun.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Nadu combo and Turbo Reanimator are like, okay. Yeah. But I mean, I was talking about this a little bit when in game 3, when I was already on tilt and you just discarded Grizzlebrand to hand size, I was like, great, I'm fucking dead. He's got Turbo Reanimator after getting Turbo Nadu'd. But also, like, the point of this, it's not to just play stupid decks that don't really work. We want to showcase that you can leave the front page of MTG Goldfish and still have lots of cool decks to play. And like, Tin Fin's Shallow Grave Reanimator is very different than Tamiyo Blue Reanimator. Those are completely different things. And having to juke onto Witherbloom and Show and Tell rather than just flip your Tamiyo in post-board games or cast Barrogoyf, like, it's very interesting, and it showcases maybe what the format could be with a few well-placed bans. I don't know, but it's it's cool. I like that you brought decks that were like just under the band, and my decks were nonsense from my Patreon, and I feel like our games were still good. Like, decisions were made, and even in the Lone Pox Slaughter, like, sometimes in Magic you just draw 8 lands in a row. It's gonna happen, and if we played best of 5, I think that matchup would have been really interesting. And
me too.
Just didn't do that.
randomly how those exact 2 games played out, right? But we can all see from, in theory, that would be a cool. You could choke me out of some games, and I could get barely over the hump, and we could have like these race within margins. But that was not today. But entertainment value was up there. So I guess I guess we take those. I think that's it for me. If you don't have anything else, you can wrap up the show, Brian.
All right. Well, this has been episode 2 of the Bosh versus Baron Battle for the Basement. And if you're watching on Ecobaronen, come over to BoshNRoll. If you're watching on BoshNRoll, go check out Ecobaronen. Both sides of the matches will be live by the time you're seeing this.
Yep, certainly.
All right. See ya.
See you guys.